Actually just started back at the beginning of this year. I've been planning this business for years. I come from the social services world. I left my career 2 years ago, moved out to New Mexico almost 2 years ago also, and was just looking for a way to help other people that wasn't burning me out, which I very much was getting burnt out in social services. So I created Unbroken Wellness. It is a somatic coaching business. I'm also a yoga teacher, so I kind of incorporate a lot of somatic tools with yoga. Yoga was really my how I came into somatics because when I started getting really serious about my yoga practice, I was like, wow, I'm not even living in my body. And so, um, I really resonate with like being able to mentally navigate things, but not really having the tools physically to cope with what's going on. So somatic coaching, I do one-on-one coaching. I work with clients. I'll walk you through a little bit how I work with clients here soon, but I work with clients who are experiencing nervous system burnout, who are just, they've reached that point where they feel like they just need something more. Like the tools that they have aren't quite working. Maybe they're experiencing extreme fatigue. Maybe they're experiencing a lot of physical symptoms. Maybe they're experiencing, like I said, nervous system burnout. I do workshops, so such as this. I've done workshops in the past where I'm just, expanding on a topic related to somatic coaching, or I've done a lot of yoga workshops before. The movement portion of this, movement is really the thread in all of this. I'm a huge movement person because that's physical, right? That's our body. And so when we connect with our physical body, I feel that we can just stay really grounded in who we are. And movement is medicine. So there's always an aspect of movement in the things that I do and the work that I do. And then community is the last piece. I will talk to you a little bit about how I'm going to, my ideas and my plans for connecting us together in community to do this work. A little bit about me. Again, my name is Jenna Clayton. I am a 200-hour yoga teacher. I've been teaching yoga for 4 years. I've been practicing yoga for, let's see, probably 13 years, a little around there, give or take. I'm an integrative somatic practitioner, which means integrative means I'm looking at the whole picture of a person, not just the body, but the body is really the entry point to where we start to explore what else might be going on. But as we know, or maybe we don't know, but something that I've come to find is the physical body cannot be separate from the rest of our experience. Like where everything is connected. So our emotional experience, our physical experience, um, our spiritual experience, our external or internal, it's all connected in some sort of way. And the body is our vessel. So that is like the place where we experience everything. And through that entry point, we can access and impact all other areas of our life. I have a psychology background. I have a bachelor's in psychology, and then I went on to do eight-ish years of human services work. I worked in many different fields in human services, just like a wide array of working with all ages of people, from small children to elderly folks. And so just a lot of different experiences in nursing homes and long-term care facilities and schools and the community, working in crisis situations and working with people experiencing trauma and experiencing hardships in their life. Um, and I have a lot of experience working with other people, but I also have my own experience with trauma and difficulties in my life. I think we all accumulate trauma as we go through this crazy world, and I am not immune to that. I've definitely had my fair share of difficult experiences. So, through my journey and my difficult experiences, my upbringing, and then into my 20s, my adulthood, and just really trying to like navigate life without proper tools, that led me into substance abuse. And so I actually am in recovery from alcohol. I am 2.5 years sober, which has been just a miracle and a blessing, and can't imagine doing life any other way. Just so grateful that I'm getting to do this redo in life. But the reason I fell into addiction, I believe, is because I didn't have the proper tools or understanding of my experience and like what I was going through and how to navigate it. I did years of therapy and didn't really get to the root of my problems until I started really diving into my yoga practice. And my yoga practice is what showed me, like I said earlier, um, that I wasn't living in my body. I was living very externally and very in my head. So through that, I was always reaching for something outside of myself to make me feel better. And as you can imagine, that wasn't very sustainable. And eventually that led me to severe nervous system burnout, where I just could not continue functioning the way that I was functioning. I was experiencing a lot of physical symptoms. I was kind of stuck in fight or flight. And, um, I've dealt with kind of cyclical, almost like autoimmune type issues, and just a lot of different physical manifestations of my experience that wasn't being well managed. All right, and then I'm going to get us into the meat of the workshop for today. This may not take the full hour and a half, but I wanted to give us plenty of time to kind of chat at the end and really talk about things. So, the awaken portion of this, so awaken and expand is really kind of like the simplification of the method that I use when working with clients and when doing my somatic work with others. So awaken is the first part. Like we can't move forward without awareness. And so awareness is where I start, and somatic awareness is just like a broad way to say or to talk about the awareness of our physical body. The soma is the body, soma is body. And so somatic awareness is where are we holding stuff? What is our body trying to tell us? Um, what in our experience might be blocking us from further growth? And what might be blocking us even further to take that down a level from hearing ourselves, from hearing our intuition, from really like trusting ourselves to move forward on our journeys in a healthy and productive way. So, somatic awareness can look like many different things. It's, again, like I said earlier, it's really about dropping into the physical body and, you know, learning to learning to just start to listen to ourselves. I have on here the language of the body. We're taught the English language, or if we speak a second language, or we have another language as our first language, we're taught that very well. We're taught how to navigate through society as our culture teaches us, but we're not taught the language of the body. The body doesn't speak to us in words. It speaks to us in emotions and sensations. So the body speaks to us in emotions and sensations. And it's always communicating to us. It's always giving us messages. And it's just something, in a very forward driven, a very a culture where our productivity is measured by or I guess our worth is measured by our productivity rather. We are often pushing through those messages of our body and not stopping to listen to them because we were never taught to. It's not really our fault. So, this portion, this awakening part where we start to really understand how to listen to our bodies is I like to call it remembering because we're born with this innate gift to hear ourselves and to listen to the body. And our body is like such a wise, it carries such wisdom and, it holds all these cool systems, right? Like we have our nervous system, we have the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in our body. It runs from our brainstem to our gut, and it's in charge of activating our parasympathetic nervous system or our sympathetic nervous system. So that's rest and digest or fight or flight. And it's in response to our environment. And there's so many messages going on. There's so much communication, like electrical signals are being sent throughout our body and communicating to each other at all times, even in this moment when we're not aware. And so there's so much there's so much I could talk about the body in that way for so long because there's just so much there. There's such wisdom and such beauty and such kind of magic in what our bodies can do. And when we connect to that language of the body and we start to really listen, then we start to hear other things that maybe weren't at the forefront of our awareness. Maybe they were more in our unconscious. That's when like the unconscious awareness of like our conditioning, maybe from culture or our families, maybe limiting beliefs that we've just carried throughout our lives that might be hindering us from taking opportunities or mm, like really living our truths. We start to hear maybe our inner callings, maybe desires that we have. We also start to become more aware of the trauma that we've moved through or the stress that we've been carrying and how we've been carrying that in our physical body. And it can be a big experience to really start dropping into that awareness. Um, and ultimately, what all of this does is it connects us to our intuition. The intuition is something that we all possess. It's the deepest wisdom that we carry. It's like that it's been called like, that gut reaction, that gut feeling. And we override it a lot, just I'm saying we as a general collective, we in our culture. And so the goal of this piece of the puzzle in somatic work is to connect us back to our intuition, which ultimately allows us to live authentically and more free in our lives. And the expand portion of this is once we have this awareness, it can be, like I said earlier, it can become overwhelming or it can be a lot, right? If we're not used to having the awareness of the body, we might kind of shut down. We might start to feel overwhelmed. We might want to try to numb. This is, I feel like I had a lot of awareness. I was in therapy for many, many years before I got into somatics, but I felt like I had all this awareness. I'm a pretty self-aware person. I studied psychology because I was curious about how we work and why we do the things that we do. And why my family was the way that they are and why society is the way that society is. And I was always very curious. And so I built that awareness pretty quickly. And throughout years of therapy and just experience in human services and just experience in life, my awareness really did develop at a good pace, but I did not have the capacity. I did not have the capacity. I'm also a highly sensitive, deep feeling person. And so I just didn't know what to do with that awareness. I couldn't hold it. So I rejected it. I rejected intense feelings. I rejected like parts of my awareness. I didn't know how to hold all of it. And that really all comes back to the nervous system. And the nervous system is it's the system in the body that helps us respond and react and to move through life kind of with ease or maybe with dis-ease, depending on how resilient our nervous system is. But it's in charge of handling our responses to all the stimuli that we're experiencing in life. And when our nervous system, like mine, was stuck in kind of that fight or flight mode most of my life because I just didn't have the tools to handle my experience. And that was for many different reasons. I think a lot of it is cultural. I think a lot of it is familial for me, and a lot of it is experiential. But I just didn't have that. So it all starts with the nervous system. And there is there's a term or a belief or I don't know the right word, we'll just say term related to the nervous system that I've recently been kind of taking a deep dive into. It's called titration, and titration is the ability for the nervous system to kind of bounce back into a more calm state or regulated state after experiencing something dysregulating. And so a lot of times, especially when we increase our awareness, we just want to like jump back into something that's safe or something that's comfortable or something that's going to take care of us. And so we can often get stuck in this kind of like extreme, like stuck between both extremes, like going into a dysregulated state and then going to the other extreme where we're extremely comfortable and then just kind of going back and forth. And so titration is learning to just kind of smoothly move back and forth. And when we learn how to do that, it increases our capacity to hold our experience. And so those two pieces together, the awareness and learning to increase our capacity together, create resilience. And this can look like many different things. And it also doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and it's a process that requires diligence and it requires honesty. It requires being open to really seeing ourselves for who we are and being able to hold like the light and the dark parts of ourselves equally. And just taking a really honest look at ourselves and what I found in this work and this experience is when I am able to honestly look at myself and my life, and be honest about, my ability to maybe hurt other people or my ability to mess things up, but also be equally honest with my ability to be a giver and to take care of people and to nurture people or nurture myself. Um, I'm able to honestly hold the external experience and be able to kind of see in the world, like, you know, the beauty and the magic and also like the destruction and the violence and the isolation that exists in our world and not shut down or freeze or numb out, but I'm able to just see it, hold it, and then move forward from a more grounded place, if that makes sense. And another beautiful I want to say side effect, but I don't want it to sound negative, but another like result, I guess, of expanding our capacity to hold is we become more in tune with our rhythms and cycles. So when we really meet ourselves where we are, we start to notice kind of the ebbs and flows that we naturally have. We start to notice, like I said, like those cues or those like somatic symptoms or somatic experiences that are pointing us to what we really need in our daily lives. And as a woman, I think about this a lot because, I have a female cycle that I operate on, and I wasn't brought up, well, I mean, we live in, quite frankly, a patriarchy or a world where we're not, as women, really taught a lot about our cycles and how to ebb and flow with our cycles. And so, one of the greatest gifts of somatic awareness for myself is just like learning to really like honor what I need at any given moment. And that doesn't have to be just a female cycle. That's like any natural cycle and rhythm, right? Like it could be like emotional cycle, it could be a stress cycle, it could be um awake sleep cycle, it could be whatever, whatever kind of rhythm and cycle we need in our life. Maybe we're going through a lot at one point and or one point in time, and we need to kind of like let go of some other stuff that we have on our plate. It's just like learning to honor ourselves. And the way that we start to do this is, first of all, meeting ourselves where we are, taking that honest look at where we are, um, learning tools, somatic tools to hold what's here without shutting down. So, teaching ourselves safety to really be present and experience everything that's right here in front of us. And, that could be through breath work, that could be through, there's so many different somatic tools that we can use to increase that capacity and to really be able to sit with what's here. And it takes consistency because this isn't something, like I said, that happens overnight. It's something that happens over time. And it's a whole process. And I love thinking about things in terms of the process rather than the end goal. It's important to have goals, but it's also really important to be in the process and to be present. And that's what somatics really is. It's like about developing a toolbox, developing a process to be able to navigate whatever's in front of us without running away and to stay connected to who we really are and to our authentic truth without running away from that and staying connected and grounded to all of that. And presence is such a gift. Um, our ability to just be present with our lives and to be present with everything that we're feeling, our sensations, and stay grounded. It's a beautiful journey, and it's also one that requires diligence and it requires the right tools. Um, we are all, of course, unique individuals in this life, and maybe there's things that we all have that are overlapping, but we don't all have the same traumas or stress or response to life around us, and we don't need the same tools. So this is a very individualized process. It's very, very individualized. Um, so I'm going to pause here and just wanted to see, do you guys have any questions so far? I do want to talk about um, some opportunities or like how you can work with me in the future, but just wanted to pause for a moment to see if there are questions.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm gonna keep going. So, earlier I mentioned community, and I do one-on-one coaching. I do yoga classes. I do workshops. But I just keep hearing like we need to be together in community. And I've been thinking about how to create a community space. And so I have created a program called Unbroken Self, which is an 8-week virtual program. It's a group coaching program. This particular program I am offering to women and femmes, just because I think as a good jumping off point, and just because like I've ended up with just working with mostly women, there's like themes that are coming up, and so I really wanted to offer this first one for women, just as a way to connect safely together and kind of talk about similar experiences that we may be having. This 8-week program is completely virtual. You'll have access to an online portal where we will you'll be able to communicate with each other. I will share recordings of workshops. I'll do workshops and group coaching, which will be like live virtual workshops and coaching. But I'll record those and then I'll post them in the portal so you have access to the replays afterwards. Yeah, there'll be weekly activities, which will be like just like little like somatic activities or challenges, or maybe like a journal prompt or um, a little challenge that you can do for increasing nervous system capacity, or maybe like just something you can do to connect with yourself for that week. And of course, this will be an opportunity for community growth as well. And the first 5 people to sign up for this coaching program get a free 30-minute one-on-one session with me. So that's pretty exciting. I will drop the link to sign up in chat and be keeping an eye out for who signs up first to get you that free session. All right, so I'm going to pause here and just share a little bit more about ways that you can work with me, and opportunities coming up in the future. So I am based out of New Mexico. I will be posting some local opportunities coming up here in the next couple months that are pretty exciting. I'll continue to do virtual events here and there. And I also do one-on-one coaching. I have limited availability right now for one-on-one coaching, but I do have a couple. I could probably take a couple more clients, and so that's also something you can find on my website. I have a calendar on there, and you can sign up for consults so we can talk and kind of see if we're a good fit. And I wanted to mention something that I completely forgot to talk about earlier, and it is why I named my business Unbroken Wellness. And I named my business Unbroken Wellness because throughout my own personal healing journey, and I say my healing journey like I've been on a healing journey forever, but I think when I got most serious about my like most committed, most like 100% I'm in it was when I came into somatic work. And things that I noticed when I started was I just noticed I noticed that I didn't feel connected to my center. I didn't feel connected to myself. I felt, like I said, burnt out. I felt I couldn't feel like my spirit or like my heart. I was like struggling to find compassion and empathy. And it was just very, very shut down and closed off. And so unbroken comes from the direct translation of anahata, which is if you're familiar, you probably both are since you're familiar with yoga, but the energy center of the heart, it's the heart chakra. I love thinking about this energy center and the meaning behind it. Oh, this is my cat Pickles. You can say hello. Um, it is said to be the bridge between the external and the internal worlds, or like the physical and the metaphysical. And also the connection point between like the lower chakras and the upper chakras. So kind of between the body, the physical body, and our higher consciousness or our collective consciousness. So it kind of is like the central point. It's been a central point in my own healing because as I've healed, I have felt my heart or that energy center activate. I felt myself come back online in a beautiful way where I'm connected to my spirit, I'm connected to my heart, I'm connected to other people, connected to myself, and it's just been this beautiful flow. So unbroken comes from the direct translation of anahata, which is unstruck or unbroken, which refers to the place within us all, which is our heart center, and it's that place within us that's never broken. It's unbreakable. So just wanted to share kind of the symbolism behind my brand and remind you that you guys are unbreakable as well. Everyone is. And with that, I am going to pause and take us through a little activity or just a guided somatic practice. So if you are in a place where you can take a comfortable seat, I invite you to find your way there. Make yourself comfortable. If you can, find the ground with your feet, find a nice tall spine. And this is just going to be a really simple body scan, little energetic reset body scan practice. You can kind of check in with yourself, maybe release some energy through some breath work, and just kind of notice, check in with yourself and see how you are today. So finding your seat, go ahead and close the eyes or soften the eye gaze. Start to become aware of the body and connect to the breath. So let's take a cleansing breath in through the nose. As you take that inhale, notice a little more length through the spine. And as you exhale, maybe release some stagnant air, stored energy, and settle a little bit more into your seat. Probably already noticing sensations come up in the physical body. They may not all be comfortable. You might start to notice like areas of stickiness or tightness or tension from the day. I'll bring awareness to those with non-judgment. You're just practicing being the observer of your experience here and noticing, witnessing what's here, building that awareness without trying to change anything, without attaching any particular meaning or judgment to what's here. And just as well as noticing those areas of stickiness or tightness, notice areas that are starting to soften, to open, to expand. Notice what it feels like to experience this awareness with a little bit of distance, with a little bit of space, without urgency to change or fix anything or label anything, just being with what's here. We're reaching the end of a week. So I invite you just to kind of do a quick scan back through the week and notice what you've moved through as a way to maybe think about and get curious about what kind of energy maybe you've picked up, maybe what you've moved through, how it's impacted you, or even energy that you've left in people, places, things, experiences. And then just kind of letting that information go of the week, coming back into this present moment with a little more awareness of the physical body, maybe a little more awareness of energy that you've picked up from people, places, things, and experiences, or energy you've left in people, places, things, and experiences. And using our breath, we're going to do a little energy reset. So as you inhale, I invite you to imagine calling energy back to yourself that you may have left in other places. So collecting energy. Maybe it's still hanging out in conversations that aren't fully finished or experiences that don't quite have solutions yet. Maybe to-do lists or tasks. So just on your inhales, calling that energy back to yourself. Exhale, soften. And to take this practice a step further on your exhales, I want you to start or invite you to start imagining releasing energy you may have picked up that doesn't belong to you. Maybe it's someone else's energy. Maybe it's leftover stress, tension, tightness, stickiness. So adding that onto your practice, inhaling to call energy back to yourself and exhaling to release energy that doesn't belong to you or that doesn't serve you anymore. Inhaling to call your energy back to yourself. And exhaling to release anything that you don't need in this moment. We'll do a couple more rounds of breath. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. Another round of breath, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. You're welcome to take a few more rounds of breath on your own. And as you start to slow the breath down, allowing the breath to return to its normal rhythm and normal pace, I invite you to notice if you feel different. Notice if you feel more connected. Notice if you feel more space. And I invite you to maybe take a big stretch or a little bit of movement in the body as you bring your awareness back into the room. You can flutter the eyes open. Welcome back. And I hope you have gained something from this webinar so far. I don't have anything else to share. I just want to thank you for taking some time, for your curiosity, for your openness to somatics, and to unbroken wellness and what we offer. So I'm Jenna. I recently started my dream business, which is Unbroken Wellness. Um, I'll tell you a little bit about it here in a second, but this workshop, Awaken and Expand, is just, I know I've gotten recently a lot of new followers and people interested in what I'm doing, and I'm sharing bits and pieces here and there. But I wanted to give a little bit more detail about what I do and kind of just the ins and outs of how I work and operate and the method that I use. So I'll walk you through some of the methods or modalities that I use today. Unbroken Wellness, like I said, that's my business. I